Good morning, dear friends. Welcome to the Conscious Living Spiritist group in the Sunday morning. We hope you and your families are well. It's always good to pause a bit in our day to day to connect with the spirituality, with our spiritual nature, and reflect about ourselves, about our lives. We're just waiting a few minutes for others to join. Today, we have a very good friend joining us for the lecture. And I will introduce him in a moment. As usual, we will start with our initial reading. Today, from the book Living Spring, book from our beloved Francisco Cândido Xavier and the Spirit Emmanuel. It will follow to our initial prayer, and then we will have a lecture. Bom dia, good morning, Vivi. Hope you are well. Welcome to those who are joining us right now. And we are about to start our initial reading from the book Living Spring. Lesson number 2, under the title, The Way to Do It. And it's a verse from the letter of Paul to the Philippians, chapter 2, verse 5, when Paul says, "Let the same sentiment there be in you as it was in Christ Jesus." And then Emmanuel elaborates on that. Everyone does something in life, but there are few who do not have to return to the flesh to undo what they have done. Even lazy people who have spent their lives in uselessness and idleness have to return to the struggle in order to clear away a web or the web of inertia that they have woven around themselves. Only those inspired by Jesus' standard for doing good can conduct their lives in such a way that they would not have to make reparations or corrections later on. Doing something in Christ means always doing the best for everybody without expecting any kind of payment, without demanding anything, without putting on a show, without displaying superiority, without expecting acknowledgement, without causing trouble. With every step the Divine Master took, we see him detachedly involved in continuous activity on behalf of the individual and the community. From the carpenter's shop in Nazareth to the cross in Jerusalem, Jesus spread the good without any payment other than the joy of doing his Father's will. Jesus praises the widow's mite and also praises Zacchaeus' fortune with the same serenity. He talks lovingly with children and multiplied the loaves for thousands of people without changing who he was. He raises Lazarus from the tomb and walks to his martyrdom with his attention focused on the heavenly designs. Along the unending line of your days and hours, do not forget to act for the common good. However, so that illusion does not strike you with the gall of disenchantment and loneliness. Help everyone indiscriminately, and above all else, hold on to the glory of being useful, so that the same sentiment may be in you as it was in Jesus Christ. Once again, welcome to those who may be joining us right now. We would like to invite everyone for our initial prayer. You may choose to close your eyes if you would like. Dear Jesus, our beloved brother and teacher, we thank you once again for all your examples, for your sacrifice, and for the blessings that you provide to every single one of us every single day through our guardian angels, the good spirits. Dear Master, we ask you please in these very few moments that we gather together in your name, please help our minds and hearts to be able to focus and absorb the most of the lessons prepared by our dear friend Vitor with so much care and love. May we regain the strength, the faith, hope, and the joy that you showed us every single day of your passage among us. Please, dear Master, help our brothers and sisters, our family members, our colleagues who may not be here present in this meeting with us today. May they all also receive the blessings, the encouragement, the strength that we all need so much. And we also ask, please, may the benefactors, the good spirits who assist the work of spreading the gospel in your message around the world, may they assist our dear brother, friend Vitor, so he can be inspired to deliver the reflections and the message that he prepared to us with so much care. And with that, we ask your blessings and your permission to begin our humble meeting this morning. Thank you, and so be it. Dear friends, with that, I would like to introduce our friend Vitor Eugenio. Vitor is from the Tampa Bay Spirit Society, André Luiz. Vitor has been also a great partner as a volunteer from the Spiritist Federation of Florida and the Children Youth Department over the years, preparing, delivering so much great work to the youth, to the children, across the different groups in Florida and the United States. And he prepared for us today his thoughts around, the very relevant teaching from Jesus that we see in the Bem-aventuranças, or I forgot the term, the Sermon of the Mountain. Blessed are the afflicted, right? So with that, I will bring Victor here. Victor, good morning and welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, my friend. Wish you a good lecture, and the floor is yours, Victor.
Thank you very much. And thank you everybody for tuning in on a Sunday morning. I know you guys could have been doing many other things, but I'm so glad you guys are here today. Um, and first of all, I would like to thank the Conscious Living Spirits Group for the opportunity to share with you not a lecture, but just my thoughts and reflections regarding "Blessed Are the Afflicted," which is the chapter number 5 of the Gospel according to Spiritism. And I think we can all agree that the Gospel it's a book that transcends time. It's a book that's always current. It doesn't matter what time of life of ourselves or of other people. Uh, the lessons in the gospel are always something we can take advantage of. If that's a lesson that we've learned, it's always good to read it again, get a new perspective. If it's something that we try to fix in ourselves, it helps as well. And for the other things that we have no idea that we had to fix or that we had help for, all that information is in the gospel. So in any time of our lives, the gospel always going to have something um, good and a message of peace for all of us. Um, so that's what we're going to talk about today. So, blessed are the afflicted. So, I would like first just to get a few definitions there, right? So, we're going to talk about a little bit about afflictions and what those are and what causes it. And then we're going to go over to why blessed are the afflicted, why when Jesus was saying that to his disciples and to everybody that was listening to the Sermon of the Mountain, what does that mean, and how what does that mean for us? And then in the end, I'm gonna try to give you guys a few tips on how to go through the afflictions. And I really hope that by the end of this chat, I you guys can have um, some sort of a hope, and some sort of something that comforts you and helps you with any struggle that you might be going through or your family might be going through. All right. So without further ado, let's talk about affliction. So the basic definition of affliction, it's right there. So is the feeling of persistent physical or moral pain, agony, or anguish. So it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good. So every time that someone is being through an affliction, it's generally something that not feels great. And there are many situations where we do feel an affliction, and sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes it's for small things, sometimes for big things. But all of us on this earth, we go through affliction one way or another. And that's by design, because as everybody knows, our planet is on the second stage of the evolution of the planet. We are a world of trials and expiations. So affliction, it is a tool that Providence uses to help us to evolve. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that everybody that lives on this earth, they go through affliction one way uh, or the other. Um, and as I mentioned, we feel afflicted by very different things, and each one of us go through situations on where that can cause us. It could be a bad relationship with a family member. It could be um, a situation at your job or at school. So it could be many things. But that's really something that brings discomfort. It's something that make us challenge some of the situations we're going through, and it actually helps us to start to understand why some things happen, right? Sometimes they're very dramatic, sometimes they're not that dramatic, but they come in anyway. So each one of us have gone through afflictions and will go through afflictions in this life and in many others. Um, so if we just realize that that's going to be a common thing, it helps us to see affliction on a different light. As I mentioned before, affliction is a tool that the providence uses to make us move forward, to progress. Um, so sometimes we looked up in the sky and we challenge God because of something that's happened to us. And what the gospel is inviting us to do when they say, blessed are the afflicted, is that think about what is that affliction you're going through, that problem you're going through. What's that trying to show you? Maybe you have to change path. Maybe you have to not talk to someone for a while until you heal, and then you're ready to talk to that person again. So when we start to look at afflictions as opportunities for growth, that gives us a completely different perspective um, in our lives to do that. So self knowledge and inner reform is very important here because only by looking into the situations we are going through, we understand more about ourselves. We understand about our bad tendencies and on the things that we have to heal and improve in ourselves. So it is important that we have afflictions in our life, and it might sound crazy that uh, because that's something that nobody wants, but it's inevitable, right? We are going to go through this. So the quicker that we realize that those are opportunities for growth, it's better for us so we suffer less. Okay? So this is a little bit about affliction, and everybody just have to do um, some soul searching and understand what they're going through today and try to figure out why they're going through that and what message providence is trying to show us. And affliction can have many causes, and that's how we are going to talk next. So we're going to talk a little bit about cause of afflictions. And essentially, there is two causes of affliction. We have current afflictions or afflictions that are caused by actions that we've done in this existence, or we have afflictions that were caused by actions we've done in the past. And then on chapter 5, on item 4, it goes like this. Going back to the origin of earthly evils, it will be recognized that many are natural consequence of the character and the course of those who suffer them. Improvidence, pride, vanity, and jealousy. Man, then, in a great number of cases, is the cause of his own misfortunes. But instead of recognizing it, he finds it simpler, less humiliating for his vanity to accuse the luck, providence, God, a bad fortune, a bad star, while bad star is it's only the careless about it. So what is this trying to say? So it's talking about the current cause of affliction and essentially saying that most of the afflictions we go through in life are caused by our own selves. And if you come to think about it, it sounds kind of ridiculous, right? It's like, why would I harm my own self? But unfortunately, we do that more oftentimes than not, because we make bad decisions and we do bad things, and all these things have consequences. And we are spiritists, and we understand that for every thing that I do, there is a response, right? There is a law for that. And that's exactly the case. So if I made a bad decision today, if I treat my family badly, and something happens, I see the cause of that. I'm going to receive that back one way or the other, right? So I'm going to be cause inflicting that upon myself. On the item 6, he says something like this. Men, therefore, are not always punished or punished completely in his present existence, but he never escapes the consequences of his faults. The prosperity of evil is only momentary. If he does not atone for today, he will atone for tomorrow. Whereas he who suffers is atoning of his past. So now he's talking about the afflictions with the causes in the past. So sometimes we make things in the present life that we either decide not to fix in the current existence, or maybe they're so big and they affect so many people that there is not enough earthly time to fix that. So that goes from that host over to another incarnation. Um, and sometimes it takes several incarnations to resolve something like this. And one important lesson here is that for anything that we can resolve in this life, we should, and we should do quick. Because now that it's established that we can carry over afflictions from one life to another, why would anyone want to do that? Um, we understand that we don't take any material things with us to the spiritual world, but all the moral things, the good and the bad, we take that with us. So why do I want to take a luggage full of bad stuff, full of debt, of moral debt, I mean, to my next life? Why don't I want to just resolve this right now? And the answer is pretty simple and was already on item number four: pride, vanity, and jealousy. Because, unfortunately or not, that's the state that most of us as spirits are because we are in this planet. So, usually, because of these three things, pride, vanity, and jealousy, we worked against ourselves to resolve the situations we have with us and with others in this life, and we carry stuff over to the next life. And on the item six, the gospel is very clear. The man never escaped the consequences of its faults. So it comes back to haunt you in another life. So it is in our best interest that we try to resolve the things right here, right now, and quickly. So let's move on to item seven. In item seven, he says, suffering due to causes prior to the present existence, like those arising from current faults, are often the consequence of the fault committed. That is, man, through the action of a rigorous distributive justice, suffers what he has made others suffer. So, this is what we talked about when one bad action triggers a bad reaction. But one thing that I want to be very clear is that it's never black and white and one on one. If I kill someone in this life, it does not mean that someone's going to kill me on the next life. And that's because God, in all of His mercy, He makes all of us different. And He checks every single action that we do with our lives. So, depending on the situation of the spirit, some spirit have more merit, others have less merit, but all of them have merit nevertheless. And that all counts when we have to pay back that debt on how heavy that's going to be. So I don't want anyone to think that it's all tit for tat. That's not how God operates. Because in all of His mercifulness, He looks at each one of us and He knows exactly what kind of lesson that we need. And that should comfort all of us because, and I'm not saying either that you can go ahead and do whatever you want and expect less of a punishment, for a lack of a better word. But to keep in mind that all of your actions, they matter. So the good actions and the bad actions, they do matter and they make you an individual. So that's very important and should be very comforting. All right, so let's item on the cause of afflictions. I want to talk a little bit about item 10 on the gospel. It goes this way. The more serious is the ailment, the more energetic must be the remedy. He, therefore, who suffers much must recognize that he had much to atone for, and must rejoice at the thought of this forthcoming cure. So it goes a little bit just like item 7 says. So the bigger the fault, the bigger the remedy. But again, depending on several variables, that punishment could be the same or less or even more. So even depends. Okay, so now that we established that we have a past cause of affliction and you have a present cause of affliction, let's talk a little bit about the justice of afflictions. And I like this topic very much because we talked about the justice of the men here on earth, our legal system, and we have the divine justice, which transcends and it's the perfect justice. So because we go through afflictions, oh, I forgot to pass the slides. I'm so sorry, guys. Let me do this right now. You guys are not following that at all. Let me see. There we go. Sorry, it's my fault. So in the item 3 of the chapter 5, it goes this way. But the question arises, why do some suffer more than others? Why are some born in poverty and others in opulence without have done anything to justify these positions? Why do some achieve nothing while to others everything seems to smile? But what is even less understandable is that goods and evils are so inequally distributed between vice and virtue, and let virtuous men suffer alongside the wicked who prosper. So I want you guys just to take a second and think on how many times have we asked ourselves these questions. We see so many crazy stuff happen in this world, and with so many good people that we think, and we always comes to think, why is someone going through this? I know this person. This person is holy. He's like an angel. And why does he or she has to suffer that much? Or why does he and she have to go through that situation? So how many times have we asked that question? How many times have we asked that question about us? How many times have we looked up the sky and said, why this is happening to me? Right? So the item 8, he goes like this. Therefore, the vicissitudes or the trials of life, they derive from a cause. And since God is just, this cause must be just. And I know this is a hard pill to swallow because we don't understand what's going on. We might not understand what's going on right away, but we have to believe that if we are going through something, it's because we have to go through something because God is just and his justice is perfect. And I know that for some people that's just not enough because they always want an explanation. But newsflash, sometimes you're not going to get an explanation from the get go. And that's where faith comes in because faith is the answer of the things that we cannot control, that we cannot see. So sometimes when we go through some bad situations and we don't understand what's going on, faith is the only glimpse of hope that we have. And the sooner that we realize that we don't have control of 90% of things and God does, and we start to trust his wisdom, the sooner we're going to be liberated from all the guilt and for all the bad things that are around us. So it is very important to trust God in his justice. But I'm not saying that you're not supposed just to sit and wait for things to pass. What I'm saying is sometimes you don't understand why you're going through something, but what I want you to understand is that you're going through something because you have to. God is merciful and you are going to get through this because nobody suffers forever. Only if they chose to. But if God had to have to choose, he wouldn't let us to suffer forever. So it's really up to us. It's still on item 8. Tribulations can be imposed on hardened spirits or extremely ignorant ones to make them make an informed choice. This is very important. I just talked to you guys about how it is in our best interest to trust God and let go of things. And here, item 8, he's saying that tribulations can be imposed on hardened spirits. And who are those hardened spirits? Those are the spirits that do not believe or they do not accept what's going on with them. So for those, usually what they go through, it's more severe than the others. It's just like you we have free will, right? So you could choose just to sit and don't do anything with your life. But at some point, life is gonna come and kick you down the curb to make you move. And usually life is not gentle at all. So why, knowing this, would anyone just sit and wait things to happen instead of standing up and try to fix things and trying to move on? And sometimes we don't have anything to move on with. That's when faith comes back again, thinking that better days are to come, and sometimes that's our only glimpse of hope. But that's much better than just sitting and doing nothing and waiting for this harsher punishment, not punishment, I don't like that word, for this harsher remedy to come in our way, because then we're going to suffer more. On item 9, he says, there is no belief, however, that all suffering endured in this world denotes the existence of a certain fault. Many times, they are simply tests sought by spirits to completing its journey and uh, path to progress. So what he's trying to say here is sometimes spirits puts themselves in these situations as a test to make sure that they are ready to move forward. So you could say that some of this suffering is voluntary. You could say that. But these are only spirits that are really trying to advance faster. It applies for some, it doesn't apply for others, but that does exist. I want to go back a little bit about item 3 so then we can just close on the gist of afflictions. However, as long as man admits the existence of God, no one can conceive of him without the infinity of his perfections. God necessarily has all powers, all justice, all goodness. Without him, there would not be a God. If God is sovereignly good and just, he cannot act capricious or partially. Therefore, the trials of life thereof derive from a cause. And since God is just, this cause must be just. And this is to me is one of the most beautiful things. Because God, in all of his goodness and his mercifulness, he treats all of us equally. Remember, we are all created simple and ignorant, and each one of us are unique in our essence. But we all come from the same Father, and He treats us the same. That means we all have the same opportunities, and we all are going through the same path of relative perfection. And I say relative perfection because perfect is only God, and we cannot be God. We're established that in the Spiritist doctrine. Um, but God is all power, justice, and goodness, and He cannot act capriciously. So He doesn't have preferences. He doesn't have favorites. Some might say that Jesus is God's favorite. No, Jesus is God's son, just like we are. Jesus is our older brother that ascended, and in all of His love, He wants us to go through the same way. So that, and with faith, these are some of the things that we have to hold on when we're going through things that we don't understand. But let me prepare the segue for the next segment, which is interesting. So now that we established that we all have to go through afflictions, and those afflictions can have a cause in this existence, and some afflictions can have causes in past afflictions. I'm sorry. Yes, exactly. And sometimes we don't understand what's going on. Um, and why is that? And that's a perfect segue for our next slide. Now, I'll make sure to move to the next slide. The forgetfulness of the past. And this is a key element to make all of this work. Because think about it. If I did someone wrong in a past life in a way that I could not or did not want to fix in that life, we all know this carries over to the next life. But depending on how severe it was, the fact that I did someone wrong, let's say that I killed someone, right, in the past life, and I killed that person. I didn't have an opportunity to make amends because that person died. So then we get together in a different family setting or in a different, we will see each other in the next life. So how is it possible for me to start making amends with that person that I did wrong in a past life, remembering of what I did? It takes a extreme amount of selflessness and acceptance and all of the virtues you guys can think about that are in the gospel, all the extremes of those, to go through this situation and to win. So what God does instead, every time that we come back to this planet or any other planet of this level, we forget about the past momentarily. And that's by design, because by forgetting the past, God gives us a chance to make amends, to understand what we've done, to repent, accept, and forgive organically. No one is telling us what to do. We have intuitions here and there. We don't remember what we did. So we are growing all these virtues organically. And that's the magic of all of this. Because without the forgetfulness of the past, it would be, I'm not going to say impossible because that is not that impossible for God, but it will take a longer time. Not just for me, but for everybody that has things to fix to go through this. In chapter on the item 11, he explains like this: it is in vain to object that forgetting is an obstacle to taking advantage of the experience of previous lives. Since God understood to throw a veil over the past, there is an advantage of this. Indeed, the memory would bring very serious inconveniences, and you could, in certain cases, humiliate us singularly, or else it could exalt our pride and thus hinder our free will. So remembering your past fully, it will affect directly how we are perceived in this world, how we perceive others, and what our actions would be. And think of this like an earthly example. We all have cameras today, right? I mean, with with COVID and everything, we did a lot of virtual stuff, so we were being recorded all the time, right? So when we know that we're being recorded, we behave one way. When we're not being recorded, we behave a different way. And that's kind of how this is. If I remember my past and I have someone in front of me that I have to make amends with, I would not probably be myself in a way because I'll have guilt and I'll have remorse and I'll have a bunch of other feelings that would prevent me to move forward with that person. But when I don't have that past, in the back of my head so vivid, it gives me a chance to make amends with that person. And that happens with all of us. And then he keeps going. At birth, man brings with him what he has acquired. He is born of what he has made in each existence. He has a new starting point. It matters little to him to know what happened before. If he sees himself punished, it's because he has done wrong. Your present bad tendencies indicate that what you have left to correct in your and what you should focus your attention on. Because of what you completely corrected, you will no longer retain any trace. And look how beautiful this is when he says, it matters little to him, to God, to know what has happened before. So it's another chance for us to move forward and to fix things. In fact, forgetting what happened during bodily life, the spirit returns to the spiritual life and regains memory of the past. Therefore, not is nothing more than a temporary interruption which likely occurs like we sleep, which does not prevent us from remembering what we have done the day before and preceding the days on the following day. Again, we don't have vividly memories of our past, but that's still part of us. Um, I guess all of us have had situations where when we meet someone, we feel like, oh, I've met this person before. And sometimes that is with completely happiness and sometimes with completely angst. That's because in our inner selves, we understand we have a past with that person, but we don't remember much, but we kind of know that we are connected. So, see, the beauty of all this, it's always the chance of starting over. So, it doesn't matter how bad our afflictions are, we gotta understand that we have afflictions because we caused them in one way or the other. And then providence has a lot of tools to help us overcome that. One that is reincarnation. So we're gonna reincarnate as many times as necessary for us to make ourselves pure in a way. We're gonna forget about the past. That gives us a chance to start stuff with a clean slate. And we always have to have faith because God's all just and is perfect in a way, in all ways. Let's say that. So, to finalize today, I have a few tips for you on how, oops, one second. So, on how can we overcome our afflictions and live a lighter life? I would say it that way. First of all, is just to realize that we are the blessed ones. So every time that we hear in the gospel that blessed are the afflicted, blessed are those hungry for justice, this is all of us. Because in one way or another, we're all seeking those things. And on item 12, it goes like this. In this world, words, blessed are the afflicted, for they will be comforted. Jesus point out the compensation that those who suffer will have, and he will have, and the resignation that leads the sufferer to blessed suffering as a prelude to healing. That's exactly what Jesus was trying to say. Those who suffer today, they're gonna heal. That's the beginning of your healing process, meaning you're gonna be happier sooner than later. These words may also be translated thus: you must consider yourselves happy to suffer, since the pains of this world are the payment of the debt which your past faults have caused you in contract before you were born on earth. And sometimes it seems like crazy that we have to love the pain and love the suffering. But love in a way to understand that those are opportunities. It's not just suffering and feeling pain just for the sake of it, but to understand that we are going through this because it's the opportunity we have to understand what's going on and make amends. Um, and then he goes like this. So I lost you for a second. Yes. So in item number 3, he says, only in the future Only in the future life can the compensations that Jesus promises to the afflicted on earth take place. So when we say, blessed are the afflicted, that means the suffering today is the pathway for all the good stuff that's going to happen later on. It's the beginning of the path. And the sooner that we realize that, the faster we're going to go through that. So, I told you guys I have a few tips on how to overcome this, and it goes like this. So, on the gospel item 4, it's a very beautiful message that translates to every day is a day to start over. So it doesn't matter what happened yesterday, how bad your day was. You go to bed, you sleep, you wake up. That's a new day. That's a new opportunity for you, for me, for everybody to go about our day and make things better. So nobody suffers forever. And we are here on this earth to go through those things and to achieve happiness. So remember, every day is a day to start over. On the item 13 on the gospel, it summarized that it depends on us. Nobody's going to go through my afflictions but myself. But that does not mean that I cannot ask for help, because we live in a society, and we are social human beings. We need other people. So even though I'm going through a situation that's all mine and I have to resolve, I have to ask help if I need to, because I'm giving a chance of my brother or my sister to practice charity. And at the same time, they're helping me to overcome a situation that I'm going through. So depends on us, but it's always good and necessary to ask for help. On the item 18, it summarizes with the to suffer. How do we suffer, right? If I want to suffer and be miserable, or do I want to suffer accepting that this is for my own good and then I'm going to get through this eventually? That's all up to us, and it's all here, right? It's a mind game. um, and I know there are some situations that are very dire and very desperate, and sometimes it's very hard to see the good in those situations, but we have to try. And as days goes by and we have every day a new day to start over, those things they ease a little bit until we can actually see why we're going through whatever we're going through, and then that truth is going to set us free. Because think about it, guys. When we don't know about something, we're anxious, we overthink, we get depressed just because we don't know. But when we do know, when we do understand things, it's very liberating. And that's the first step for us to accept and then move forward and resolve our problems. And then on item 23, it summarizes to seek happiness in spiritual things. I'm not saying that you have to just do away with material things, because in the world that we live in, we need the material stuff. But do not seek happiness in the material stuff, because that's going to go away eventually. And as I mentioned in the beginning, when we transcend to a new life, we don't take any of these material things, we take the spiritual things. So on the item 23, seek happiness in spiritual things is, let's cultivate and make better the virtues, the love, the good experiences, the reflections, because that's what we're going to take into another life. And then when we look back to our past incarnation and we made sure that we sought happiness in the spiritual things, is going to make us much happier. We will see that we did not waste time with the material stuff. And then on the item 25, it's summarized to, don't let yourself be brought down by melancholy. We all have that going through sometimes. Sometimes I when there's a sunset. Sometimes I stare at sunset and I feel like that my heart goes like this small, right? And sometimes it's good to feel like that, but don't let yourself be overcome by melancholy, right? Because otherwise you just feel like you are frozen to do anything. Try to live the life with more happiness, with more joyfulness. And if there is a bad feeling or something that brings you down, allow yourself to feel it, but put that to the other side and remember about the good things and why we are here, right? Sometimes when those things came to haunt us, we throw a prayer and we ask our guardian angels to be around us, and that's going to go away. But it doesn't matter how bad your situation is today, just don't let yourself be overcome by those feelings. Let's all try to understand that those things are going to pass, and God, in all of His mercifulness, is there for us. And the last tip that I have for you is on the item 27, and it summarizes to helping others. Because charity, guys, it is the key. Those who are helping others, they don't have time to think about the bad stuff. But I'm not asking anyone to be delusional here and just put their problems in the closet and go do charitable work. What I'm trying to say is sometimes instead of just thinking about our own problems, let's go and help other people, see other perspectives, and understand that everybody goes through bad situations and everybody's trying to achieve happiness. So that gives you the strength to move forward. So, charity, without charity, there is no salvation. And that's exactly it. By doing charity, we help others and we helped ourselves. So, guys, this is all I had to share with you today. I hope I was able to provide you with a message of hope, understanding that afflictions are temporary, and we're all going to overcome this. All right. So, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Vitor. Thank you so much for sharing such a great content. Right, it's always good to remember, especially in social media, intense social media days when everyone seems to live a um, blessed and miraculous, happy life 100% of the time. Uh, we don't see what we don't see, right?
Yes.
In reality, everyone has their share of afflictions because that's the nature of this planet and this life. And as you elaborated so well from the gospel of spiritism, those are growth opportunities for us.
Yes.
Um, and we often forget about the choice we gotta make, right? We can choose to suffer and revolt with that suffering, or we can choose to resign and seek for help and move on one day at a time, right?
Absolutely.
That's how it is. So thank you for those reminders. Um, Thanks, Monica, for your comment. Excellent lecture. Good to see you, Victor. Indeed. No questions here, Victor. So I think we are at the end of our time, and I would like to ask you for a final prayer, if you're
Sure.
okay with that.
Absolutely. All right. So, dear brothers and sisters, let's now elevate our thoughts and connect with our guardian angels and the good spirits there are in each one of our places today, and thanking them for the opportunity to brought us here so that we can all connect with our Father Creator and our Master Jesus. And to our Master Jesus, that we thank Him for all of His words, His examples, and for His legion of good spirits that help us every single day in our journey here on earth. And we are very thankful for that. For our Father Creator, we thank Him for the opportunity of life, for having given us another chance to be on His planet, to better ourselves. And we ask Him for the courage to wake up every day knowing that our afflictions, they're going to have an end, and we are destined for happiness. I want to ask for protection for all the families here, for all those that couldn't be here today, for all those that are sick and need, that they could receive the help they received. And with that, I ask permission to close today's work and that everybody have a blessed week. So be it.
So be it. Vitor, thank you once more. I appreciate you being here. It's very good to see you. Thank you, everyone, for being with us today. We can't wait to see everyone once we are back physically in the new conscious living facility next month in October. We're
Ah,
almost there.
very
Yes,
good news. Yes.
yes, it is indeed. So wish you everyone a great week ahead, and until next time,
Bye, guys. Have a good Sunday. Bye.
bye.